Let's draw an interior. So I start with making up the canvas in the program or app I'm going to work in. So here I'm using 6000 by 3000, and I always like to go for those widescreen because my screen is widescreen and because I'm focused on animation, and we like to see in those widescreens, think of the cinema. So 6000 by 3000 pixels. And here you can see this is zoomed in on 25%. So I can still zoom out really big, but if I zoom in 100%, and if you look at the navigator, I can zoom in quite a lot, but not too much, because you don't want to zoom in too much on the details. So what am I going to draw? So since I want to make an interior, so let's draw a room with a Christmas tree. So first I will decide the canvas. I'm just going for this widescreen because I'm thinking of a feature animation. So we have this room. And first I'm going to start with the thumbnail. So I always like to start with the rule of 3. So here divide it in 9 lines, and you can do this quite loose or precise. But I divide it in 9 spots. So I want to draw the horizon, I think, bit here. So it doesn't have to be precise on the line, but closer around. So we can always change it a little bit. And I think I want to have one perspective point here. So I don't want to go too much into perspective, because I made a lot of in-depth videos about this already. But you can see I'm doing it quite freehand. So here's one point, and here's the second point. So now I can use this to draw in the room. And even when I'm thumbnailing, I like to start using these things. So let's draw a wall here, like this here, and here. Now I can always adjust stuff later. So I think I want to draw here, I would say it where the fire is. Can't come up with a name, sorry for that. And the chimney. And let's draw a window here. And I also want to draw a Christmas tree. So let's draw the Christmas tree here. And I want to have it at this spot. So draw also some presents. That's cool. Maybe here is the door. And here's the couch. So just really roughly, I'm planning in some stuff, but I always want to have some point of interest on this point. And here's the couch. And I also like to have some things in the foreground, like this here. So maybe here's a candle or something. Or yeah, let's do a candle like this. Maybe there's even another one here, maybe with a Christmas character or thing. Let's make some more candles. Something like this here. And let's put here the chandelier. So I think this could work. And normally I would draw a bunch of these to figure out what I want to draw. But now I have this thumbnail and I can start working on the final drawing. So let's first, again, make the canvas, think about something. Think about the type of canvas you want to make. Do you want to make, maybe you want to make a Christmas card or something, but try to figure that out here. So I think I will first make this a bit smaller. And let's start drawing. So here's this horizon line. So I'm using the I'd say the thumbnail as some sort of guide for what I want to draw. So let's here add this perspective. So now I'm going to add some perspective lines. And in Photoshop, I'm doing this with the line tool. In Procreate, you can use the perspective guide tool in it. That's really useful. So here, drawing in these perspective lines. So like this. And again, it doesn't have to be super precise because we're drawing cartoony. So I like to have it a bit loose. And then on the other lines from the second point. And I like that they do have a bit of different, that they're not the same distance from the canvas. So this one is a bit farther away and they will give a little bit of different perspective. Let's move it even a bit further away. You can also do this when you see that you don't have enough space here. You can do this to get it a bit longer. So we can also give these two different colors. So maybe give this one this color, and let's give this one opposite color, green here. So now we can start drawing in, or we can start sketching in. So is this zoomed in? Yeah, this is enough. I can zoom in till this, and for now that's okay. So try to think how far you want to zoom in. I wouldn't make it too detailed because then yeah, your drawing will look too busy. So I think we'll make these perspective guides a bit lower in opacity. Just draw the sketch here. And you can name the layers if you want and the folders. So it depends a bit. If I'm working for a client, I need to send them this stuff. I'm using folder names. So perspective and frame. Let's call this interior. Oh. Let's continue with the sketch. So I think something here. This looks a bit big, so let's blow this a bit up, but make sure the perspective still makes sense. So we have this part. So I'm blocking in the big shapes first. So here is the fireplace. That was the what I was looking for, the fireplace. So let's block it in. Watch out, it's not going too much in details at this time. So I want to move this a bit. Let's move it here. And also here, I'm also drawing a little bit outside of the canvas, and sometimes it's really cool to have some things that are cut off a bit, so that not everything is perfect in this frame. So I'm trying to avoid the middle, like here, but here I drew the candle in the middle. I think I want to move it a bit upwards later, but let's draw in this window. I can also, maybe I can draw this door, since it's not that important, a bit here. And let's draw in the Christmas tree. Let's draw it on a separate layer so we can move it around. And I don't want to make the Christmas tree too straight. So let's this here. Think a bit about the perspective. Here we're looking inwards, and here we're looking on top of it. Again, I don't want to go too much into perspective. Now's the thing. Here, I want also here this star. And if I put it here, and I could put it in the middle of the room, but it's kind of weird, right? Nobody does that. So it's also important to think about that stuff. So maybe Maybe it works better if I move it here. Or maybe even in the foreground. But then that wouldn't make sense. So no, I'm still figuring out a bit. Maybe if we can also put the tree here. No, I think I want to have it here and quite big. Well, let's put it here and play around a bit with the perspective. Yeah, I think if I do this, I can have this tree a bit big. So again, I'm also playing a bit around with my rules to see what works or not. So let's see if this works. So although I'm using these rules, it's are just rules and you can play around with it. In the end, it's all about the final drawing. But I'm still trying to figure out a bit about the design I want to make. So somewhere it would make sense to put that Christmas tree there, but then it would be so small. So yeah, for some reason it would make more sense to put it here. Like this here, make it maybe a bit smaller or something. Yeah, I think I will leave it there because it's a bit bigger. So here we have this couch and let's draw a chair here like this. So sometimes you just need to make a decision and move on, right? So here's this thing here. I think this is, we can use this to here, draw in some socks like this here. Then here, maybe a reindeer head or something. Maybe here's that chandelier. So some candles. This. I think I want to put it here, this corner. I don't know about this chair. Maybe I want to move this couch a little bit here. Something like this here. Maybe here's this thing here. Could put there's this thing. Maybe there's I think I want to draw an object here. So I'm just trying to find out stuff. And why I do want to show this, that you can see me searching, I want to show you a little bit on how I draw these kind of things. And that when I'm drawing something, I'm also searching. So normally I would do some, at this point, a lot of reference. I'm going to use internet to find some reference. So always use reference to draw these things. And I also got a question about how to simplify things like you see in all those animation movies. And that's basically by using these basic shapes and using construction. And then I look up reference and then I try to make it more basic. So yeah, I think I want to continue with this sketch. So here, move, turn out this perspective, and let's draw in this background. So here, the star here, and I'm just trying to get everything a bit rough to block in all these parts really roughly, like this. Then here. Later I will try to make it a bit more interesting, but I still want to determine and search a bit on how I want to everything look. So here we have one present, and here we have another present, and another one. And then we have this chandelier. Like this here. Up here. And also here. Maybe something like this here. So, and when you're drawing these things, look up photos. So I don't have a reference for this reindeer. So I'm just drawing something now. Like this here. Of course, this is a fake one, right? No animals are hurt. So here, let's block in this. So you can see I'm really roughly blocking in these big shapes. And later I will draw in some more details. Draw in some details like here, maybe some pictures of the family. So try to think also a little bit about the story, who are living here, etc. So normally I spend more time into those things, and that's actually really important that you try to think about what's the story in this drawing, who are living here, etc. Here we have a candle. Maybe I want to draw something different here. Let's maybe mini Christmas tree, or maybe there's an I think, yeah, let's draw another reindeer. So here's a reindeer, something like this. Maybe you can come up with something more creative. And again, normally that's the thing where I do research for to figure out something else for that. So here's the door, and then we have this couch here, something like, yeah, this here. And again, try to use reference to draw these kinds of things. So now I'm doing it mostly out of the top of my head. And a lot of times you are then just limited by what you've seen before. So here, just a bit box where you can sit on. Or we can also remove this here, and we can use here the curtains, like this here. And then we have this big window here, stuff that there. And again, normally you would find some reference on what you can put on there. Maybe there's another lamp here in the back. Maybe some things here. I think this is a little bit too big. So I have this door, so I know that this is this height. So try to compare things about how big things are with each other. So maybe it can even when you're not going to add characters, maybe draw in a stick figure as a size reference, and you can use that stick figure to figure out how big everything needs to be, right? So and that's there where the perspective comes in useful. So then you know if the person is standing here, it will be this big, etc. So sometimes can help to draw in some characters into the perspective. So maybe there's this chair here, like this here. So yeah, let's draw in this chair here. It's a classic classic house, so it's okay if it's a little bit busy stuff going on. So what can I put on here? I'm feeling that I could put on some stuff more here, but maybe I can also make this drawing a bit bigger. Yeah, like this, and move it all a bit here. So this Christmas tree is nice. The background, and I can move on this here, like this, and then move on this chair a little bit here. Yeah, I think that works better. It also makes it cozier, right? So here we have these objects here. And let's remove this a little bit here. Yeah. I think this is the background I want to make. So sometimes you need to remove some stuff in order to make the final drawing. So let's take this drawing and make it a bit lighter. And you can see it's different than the thumbnail, but it's not a big deal unless you really talked with someone about how that needs to be. So let's look at the perspective. Does the perspective still make sense? So actually, let's make the perspective a little bit smaller. So I like to, actually, let's use this perspective and see if we can, something. Yeah, this could work. Need to change some stuff. But yeah, unless maybe you work with director or a client and who agreed on, yeah, it needs to be exactly that sketch. That could be. But now we're drawing for ourselves. We don't have to be precise with it. And I always think it's good to sometimes change stuff a little bit. So you can either choose to put all these different objects on a separate layer or work on a single layer. And I like actually to work on a single layer because then you can still, yeah, it's just easier to work with. But because sometimes you will get so many layers, it can be a hassle to work with. So normally I would look up some different kinds of reference to work with, but let's start with this. And then here we have this thing here. Let's draw this here. And then here we have this Christmas tree decoration. I don't want to go too detailed with that, but let's first do this here. So here, another Christmas decoration. drawing these objects. And this will be normally the phase before I'm going to clean up a drawing, etc. So first I make this pass like this, and then later I will go over it again for the final drawing. So here I try to find some fun shapes to use. So here, and don't worry about how much time things like this cost. So if I was to make really trying to polish a drawing like this, I could work on it for a whole day. And so don't worry too much about how much time it's going to cost you to draw these kinds of drawings. I think especially when you're learning to draw these kinds of things, it's basically that you first just take your time and don't put too much effort on the time part. So first try to learn the technique, and it will come. Trust me. Take your time to learn these things. So in the end, when I get all these questions about how to start and how to get a result like this or that, almost all the answers are focus on getting the basics first, like learn how to draw in construction and line of action first. So here, draw these boxes, draw another present here in the back. Yeah, for now it's okay. So maybe normally I would go much more into details, and you can check out the tutorial images to see how much details I normally put into this. But this would be actually the first step, or the step before I would make a final drawing. So how I let things look cartoony is that you can see that here. So I'm avoiding things like super straight, but I'm always trying to give things here like this nice curvature, etc. So try to make things not too stiff, but let them look playful, and also be a bit free-handed when you're drawing things like this. And I'm still following the perspective, as you can see here, but again also a bit loose. So it also depends a bit on the style for the thing you're working on. So the more cartoonier you go, the more crazier you can go with all these details. So this is a really big couch. So I guess it's for a big family, right? So here's a couch, or a pillow. Here's maybe a pillow. Maybe you want to draw a sleeping cat on top of it to give more that family. Some details like some buttons or something. Maybe there's this salon table. First I'm drawing this box, and then I'm drawing this salon table on top of that box. So like this here. Watch out for tangents like this, maybe cheat it a little bit like there. And here, give these things to stand on, maybe here, make it more perspective, sense, and maybe move it a little bit up, something like here. Makes sense. Maybe since it's Christmas here, maybe draw this Christmas piece, plant thing, or some other stuff. Maybe there's a magazine here. And let's draw in this rug like this. So here, maybe these things. Like this here. I don't know. They don't look really that good yet. Make this pattern. So again, do your research about this stuff. So maybe something like this here works better. Maybe I don't need to make so much. Maybe I need to make it smaller. Like this. Makes sense. So something like this here. And like this. Now I'm thinking maybe I can put this thing. Let's cut it out. Put this thing here. Candle here. Move this thing here. Then maybe here's the for the dog. So maybe you can draw in a sleeping dog here or something. I think that's nice. And we have an object here, but also something here. We can even, let's combine this. So you can see I'm really trying. So when I have an idea or something, I just go for it. And even if that means I need to rearrange stuff, etc. So here's this reindeer. Maybe there's this thing going like this here. So this does mean I need to maybe make this a little bit more here. So again, zooming out a little bit, but I think this works nice. The only thing I don't like is that I have so much space here. Oh, maybe we can come up with something about that later. So here we have this rug, like this here. Maybe here's this also thing where the children can sit on, right? Maybe you can see a cat sleeping on it, and here's the dog. I think that could be nice. And here we have this. Oh, throwing this in the frame, but we can combine these things together. Can you see how messy I work in order to find something I like? I just like to play around a bit, and that's also how you, how you get fun out of this. Also, when you're in an art block, I would recommend just begin drawing something like this and try to add ideas until you have something you like. So here we are having these candles. Again, try to find some reference. And once you've done with this rough sketch, and you want to finalize it, I get that question a lot. How do you add details and stuff like this? But this step where you're in drawing in all these sketches and so on is more important. So try to practice drawing sketches like this, and later you can focus on how to clean up your drawing and stuff like that. And also that's way more faster because these kinds of drawings are quicker to draw sketches like this, and you learn a lot from it. And in the meantime, you also work on your line, on your line quality. So maybe it doesn't make sense too much at when you hear me saying this, but trust me, try to focus on that sketching first before you start to focus on finishing drawings, adding colors. And of course, if you have pleasure in finalizing drawings, go ahead. But you really learn a lot from making sketches like this, and coloring a drawing or making the final line art of a drawing takes a lot of time. And in that time, you could have made a couple of sketches. So I really would recommend to learn how to sketch first, because you learn faster that way. And once you're good at sketching, things will become more easier. You will understand better how to construction and depth work and so on. You can apply all those things you learned on coloring. So coloring would be easier as well. So here's some stuff on. Also, what's cool about sketching like this is you can really think about who is living here and so on. And so what I was saying, so you can start with something really generic, but then when you start adding stuff, you will come up with ideas of, oh, who's living here, and you will and maybe you do research, then you go on the internet and search for Christmas decoration, and then you will find new things that you wouldn't come up yourself with. So I would really recommend it. If you want to learn how to draw backgrounds, I would really recommend it. And learning backgrounds is also really great because a lot of people want to become character artists. And I understand that it's awesome to be a character artist, but because everyone wants to become a character artist, there is a lot of question for a good background artist, and that can be a great opportunity to get hired as an artist somewhere, because there are less people who are actually good at drawing backgrounds. Because I think the drawing characters has a bit more appeal to a lot of people. But at the same time, drawing backgrounds can be hard to learn and can be especially daunting. But it's once you're into a drawing and like this, and you're sketching in all these things, it's really fun. I would hear these things in distance. You can let those look really, you don't have to work them out 100%. So here you have this thing. So the things in the foreground you want to have make most details. Things in the distance can be a bit more fake. So you have this here, this here. Maybe we do see a little bit of the door here, just a little bit. So here. We have this here, so then here the ceiling, going like this, and this part. And I think this is an old house, so there are some wooden bars here, like this, also here behind this one. And when we're would finalize these drawings, you would you can make those more precise. So like this here. And maybe we can turn off the perspective. And what I now would do normally is make this again lighter and start again, making it more cleaned up. We can actually start on that, and let's see how far we can come with that. So let's make this lighter. So now we're going to start on the final drawing. So I always like to merge it with layers so these lines are really light. And I can draw on top of it. So when you really want a clean drawing, but a lot of times, and maybe you can erase the lines even more, so you can barely see the things, and then you draw on top of that. So now I'm zoomed in 100%, and that's good of not working too big, so I can't zoom in too much on it. Maybe draw in some details like this here. And here at this stage, you can decide on how perfect your lines like to be. I always like to keep it a little bit sketchy, because that gives that energy in it when you leave things out sketchy. So maybe I want to make sure that people see that this is a dog here. So here, let's add this bone here. So sometimes when you draw things freehand, like this bone here, maybe, you know what? Let's make a little present here, like this here. Yeah, I think that's fun. And then we have this thing here. So maybe I would normally draw in some characters, like there's a cat sleeping on top of this, and maybe there's this dog sleeping there. That adds some life to it. Now I just want to keep things moving on a little bit, because then you really start noticing. You can spend so much time in drawings like this, but here you see a bit how I just work a bit. So sometimes I also zoom out and see how the overall drawing is going to look like. So here, this reindeer, then here these ears, like this here. And here also comes to that you know how to work in with construction and so on. But basically, I start drawing on top of all these things to get the final drawing. Just see how much details there actually are in a drawing like this. So here then we have the sock, like this. There's some textures here. Let's draw in some presents, like this here. And again, some presents here. Let's make this a little bit different. And maybe let's give this one dots, like this. To be honest, normally I would spend more times in it to get these lines more cleaner and stuff, but let's keep this a little bit rough to keep the space in. And at the same time, I also kind of like all these rough sketches also. But it really depends on what you're making it for. Is it just some a drawing for is it drawing that needs to be a final polished image, or is it a drawing that needs to be that's okay if it's rough, for example, when it's just some concept art for 3D artists or etc. So it also depends a bit on the basically the budget. So budget is not only about money, it's also about time. How much time can you spend on it? So now I'm limited by time because I don't want to make this video 5 hours long, right? But I still want to show that whole process. So here. So it's also then that you decide on where do you want to put in the details in. And I want to put most of the details in these kinds of front objects, like this here. And here, this reindeer, so maybe something like this here. So like this. Here. So you know what, maybe if we use that other sketch, because now here the things are more in the foreground, I've drawn like this. So let's maybe make this a bit darker. Yeah. So make a selection of the things I haven't drawn yet. Let's see if I can, if this works. So let's duplicate these two layers. And let's remove this part. And let's do the opposite here, like this here. Combine these two layers like this here. Yeah, I think that could work. Because let's add some values to it. So let's make a brush. So I want to have the things that are in the foreground making darker, or let's make a whole gray thing like this. Yeah, let's make this as base color. And let's make a mask so we can add the values inside this. Let's make this actually a bit smaller like this here. So I want to make this part dark like this in. So we're now going to block in the colors. See how that's going to look like. So it's still kind of a rough drawing. But to really polish a drawing like this, it takes a lot of time, and I don't want to bore everyone with that now. So here, in another video, I will show how I would clean up a drawing like this. Now I want to show a bit about the process. So here, let's make this Christmas tree also gray, like this here. So here, and here we have these presents. And this could be actually a sketch if I would say, and I show that to someone like client, and then I say, yeah, I want to make a drawing a bit like this here. Should I spend more time in it? Something like this. You could use it for that, right? To give some, and it depends a bit on the client or the person you're showing to, but it could be a proposal to show a little bit about what you're thinking about to draw without spending a lot of time in it. So here, maybe add some, I think this is outside, so this is dark. So here, and let's think about some parts of the line. So let's make a layer on top of it. Let's take a soft brush like this. Let's see if this works. So here's the fireplace. So let's make this light. So there's also a bit of light here. A bit light on this side and this side. And then of course, there are also some lights in the Christmas tree. And normally, maybe you can draw in some lights. Maybe here's some light. There's some light here. So what we can do is do this. Then erase this. So now it's just like there's light coming out of this lamp. We draw it out a little bit like this here. Maybe make this a little bit lighter. Don't want to make too much attention on this. So try to think about how light also works a little bit. So now let's add some shadow. So then again, you can see how I'm just playing and trying out stuff. But I'm using these techniques always to finalize drawing. So let's add some shadow here, here. Maybe here in this corner, make this corner a little bit darker, like this here, to give it some mood. This couch is also a bit darker. Here's a bit darker. Here's a bit darker. Here's a bit of shadow of that thing. Here's a bit of shadow going like this. Maybe make a bit more darker here. So a bit darker here. Let's make this part also a bit darker. So like this. Maybe we can even, so I don't, so if this was a sketch and I don't want to draw in all these candles, what we can do is draw in some things like this here. And again, it's just trying out stuff. Try to see work. So this could be a proposal, for example, for a Christmas card for a client or something. And it depends also a bit on the client if they can see a bit through. Some clients you need to make really finalized drawings, and sometimes it's enough to make a rough sketch like this. So here maybe add some extra values here to these spots. Maybe put this on multiply. It's a little bit lighter. So here, here, here. Let's make this a little bit darker. It's always a really fun part here, adding a bit of shadows. So maybe make these parts a bit darker. So again, even with a rough sketch, with some values, you can get a cool effect. So now we've made this drawing. So maybe you want to draw in some snow here. But the cool thing about adding some value is then you can also start to see some things on, oh, where do I need to put on some details and so on. So here maybe add some lines, and maybe here's this pattern on the wall. And here of the floor, this wooden floor like this, following the perspective, and I still want to finish it with this drawing here. And let's add some another multiply layer. Let's make this a bit darker, like this here. A bit light. And maybe add some lines here. Sometimes it's a little bit too much, so watch out for that here. So and now we have this background, and you can, if you want to really clean up all these things, that's okay. You can turn on the lines. What you can also actually do is sometimes I take this whole drawing and I make it lighter, and I go draw on top of it and make the final line work, and go into details and clean it up, as you can see in all my other line work. But for now, I think this is done. Maybe you want to draw in some mountains and some house there. So yeah, that is basically how I draw an interior. Thanks for watching.